How's everyone doing today? Everyone okay?
Yeah.
We got stuck with a little bit of weather yesterday, and we're gonna cram ourselves between weather yesterday and a little bit of rain tomorrow, but we did it. Just another weather day on Cape Cod. Thank you everyone for coming here today for this very special occasion of honoring Elizabeth Gladfelter, as everyone knows affectionately as Betsy, and I think Betsy likes to be called Betsy. We're gonna have Betsy sit right up in the front here. So for those that don't know me, my name's Peter McConaty. I'm the Director of Public Works. And I would like to, it's my honor for my colleagues at Public Works and I and with the town and all the folks to come here today to give honor and thank yous to Betsy Gladfelter for this occasion, and also to have a dedication of the Dr. Betsy Felter, excuse me, try that again, the Dr. Elizabeth Gladfelter Overlook. To get things started, I'd like to have we're gonna have a list of speakers come up. I'd like to have our first speaker come up, Bob Mascali from the Falmouth Select Board.
Thank you, Peter, and good morning and welcome, everyone. But before I do begin, I want to thank Peter and his whole staff for getting this place fixed up today. They were working very hard yesterday during the rain to make it look as good as it does. So, Peter, thank you, and as always, a great job. So, as Peter said, I'm Bob Mascali. On behalf of the Falmouth Select Board, I welcome you to this very special occasion, the dedication of the Overlook. In the summer of 2023, in response to a movement to move the Overlook, to name the Overlook on behalf of Betsy Gladfelter, I was appointed as the point person for the Select Board to oversee the naming process. And it was during that time that I learned of all of the wonderful accomplishments of Betsy with respect to the Overlook, to the restoration of the Coonamessett River. I learned that she administered and wrote grants, 20 grants, and administered over $8 million in grants in doing what she did. I'm going to let following speakers highlight their interaction with Betsy throughout the project. I wasn't that familiar with it, so I'm going to just touch on a couple of other points of interest with respect to the things that Betsy has done for the town of Falmouth and has made it a wonderful place to live thanks to her efforts. Betsy, after getting degrees from Stanford and UCLA, moved with her late husband to St. Croix and had a distinguished career there as a scientist. And she still continues a connection to St. Croix with her appointment at Louis, which I think started in 1997. In 2003, she became a member of the Conservation Commission and continues that at appointment. And I see a number of members of the commission here in the audience, and thank you for being here. In 2015, she was appointed as Falmouth's representative to the Steamship Authority Board of Governors and served as chair for some portion of that time. Anyone who knows Falmouth knows how high charged those two positions are and how critical they are to Falmouth. And Betsy did a wonderful job in both of those positions. In conclusion, I finally broke down and asked ChatGPT to help me describe an effective and valuable community volunteer. It basically responded back about Betsy. So if you give me a moment, I'm just going to read through what ChatGPT thinks. Commitment and reliability, empathy and compassion, teamwork and collaboration, positive attitude, adaptability and initiative, respect for boundaries. I assume that's still true, Betsy. Good communication skills, and a desire to teach and to learn. Ultimately, the best volunteers are those who serve with humility, purpose, and have a heart for people. It's less about having the right background, although Betsy certainly does have the background, but more about being present, thoughtful, and always willing to help. Betsy, thank you for being the consummate volunteer.
Good morning. My name is Peter Johnson-Staub. I'm the Assistant Town Manager, and I'm just delighted to be here today to recognize Betsy and her efforts. It was shortly after my arrival here in late 2016 that I learned of this project, and I don't remember exactly how it happened, but somehow Betsy offered to tour the site with me and talk about the project, because actually the funding for this overlook and the walkway was going to town meeting in April. And because I was so new, I wasn't late on any of my deadlines, so I leaped at the opportunity for a field trip. And we had a wonderful walk and a conversation, and Betsy explained to me the purposes of the project, which everyone here probably well knows, but bear repeating because there are so many of them. There is, of course, the habitat restoration, the plants and the vegetation and the resulting benefits for insects and birds, the fishery impacts for herring, for sea-run brook trout and eel, the nitrogen uptake and the benefits that has to the Great Pond watershed, and the fiscal benefits that has for the town and its overall wastewater planning efforts. And of course, this particular project, which enables folks to see it, to walk it, to have the overlook, and to directly engage with all those wildlife resources. So needless to say, I fell in love with the project. And what I realize now, I assured Betsy that I was going to do everything I could to help advance the project. In hindsight, what I know now, I didn't know then, I had become one of Betsy's missionaries. Betsy, you are one of the most remarkable leaders I've had the pleasure of working with in my 30 years in local government. Your ability to communicate the vision, to build enthusiasm and camaraderie among the many partners that it takes to pull off a project like this, and of course, your great asset, your relentlessness. So I was the victim of that relentlessness on a number of occasions. Have you logged into that federal portal yet? So this river restoration, this incredible project, is the result of the efforts of many people, including many of you who are here today. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but I do want to highlight the 300 Committee, the Coonamessett River Trust, our state and federal partners, many of the employees in DPW, and it's fitting, of course, that Peter McConaty is providing the audio and the setup, because there were many public works employees in the engineering office and highway that played an important role in getting things done and having a hands-on role in this project. And of course, also our conservation staff. But at the center of all of these folks is you, Betsy. So it is a really fitting tribute that this overlook will be named for the person who was at the center of making it all happen. Your legacy is here and is well-deserved. Congratulations. And speaking of relentlessness, our next speaker is another of Falmouth's secret weapons, Mark Kaspersick.
Good morning. Wow, there's a lot of people here. I'm the Falmouth Conservation Land Manager. I've been at this for about 8 years now. So I've known Betsy for over 20 years as a Conservation Commission member, but it's really the last 7 or 8 years that really hit home, where I worked with her a lot closer with the river restoration projects. So the 3 river projects, the one up in the upper is almost finished. The Greenway Gateway project, it just goes on and on with Betsy. But one of the things that's most surprising, not surprising, but that's the way Betsy is just the way she not only got these grants, along with other people's help, obviously, but it's what happens after that, right? Did she sit back and just say, all right, I did my job? No. So, I mean, she's been instrumental in softening the bureaucratic burden on managing these grants by monitoring and making sure invoices and payments are made. And there's always these deadlines, right, where the funding has to be used up by the end of June. Then there's the weekly site visits to the projects, right? For all of these, the 3 projects here and up in the upper Coonamessett. And that, a lot of these projects started in the fall, right? And, it was weather was decent, but during the winter time, it got pretty brutal out here. So we typically start in the trailer, and Betsy would bring her signature mark cider donuts, and everybody would be much happier. So it's easier to tolerate the cold that way. But these river restoration projects, that's what she's really well known for. But there's a lot more that I think a lot of you don't know about. So Betsy and I teamed up about 4 years ago, and mainly thanks to her, to apply for grants to restore the Coonamessett fields up in Hatchville, right next to the Crane Wildlife Management area. That area was all invasives, and the sandplain grassland habitat was having a hard time. So over 4 years, we applied for grants and received to the tune of $135,000+ for over the 4 years to restore the sandplain grassland. And sandplain grassland is winning now. The invasives are really taking a hit. But we also did a prescribed burn up there too. So again, just being able to work with Betsy so closely. She also is helping out on these other projects that we have over at Red Brook Culvert and Restoration, Oyster Pond project, goes on and on. But some of the things about Betsy that I like the most is, where we try to communicate a lot. We have meetings at Coffee O occasionally to talk about this, and this. When we go on walks, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this too, when Betsy's walking and there's a dog walker going by, she always says hi to the dog, and the dog walker too. But, just like what Bob said, she's so outgoing, friendly. I mean, it's been an honor we'll still be working with her, but it's been an honor working these years so closely and seeing the accomplishments that she's received. So in my book, Betsy is a complete package. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Jessica Rittenauer, and Joe Netto will be speaking with me. I'm the Executive Director of the 300 Committee Land Trust. And why are Joe Netto and I standing here today? Joe approached the 300 Committee Land Trust a couple of years ago with the idea that an element of the Coonamessett River pathway be named in honor of Dr. Betsy Gladfelter. And the concept came from Joe to the 300 Committee's board, who enthusiastically voted to support this concept. And we brought a proposal to the select board and then went through the town's process. I cannot imagine a more dedicated volunteer. I feel fortunate on behalf of the 300 Committee that we were able to work closely with Betsy on many of the elements here. We collaborated on community preservation grant proposals for much of the public access enhancements, much that was really implementing a vision that Betsy Gladfelter had for connecting people with nature, and for really bringing to this community a natural resource restoration project that really invited the community in to experience it. It's been an honor to work with Betsy, and I'm thrilled that the town conducted the vote to name this after Dr. Betsy Gladfelter. Joe?
Thank you. Thank you, Jess. Good morning, everyone. My name is Joe Netto, and I've been walking around this river for the last 70 years. And what's been accomplished here through the dedication of the people of the town of Falmouth and led by Dr. Gladfelter, I personally want to say thank you for what has been accomplished here. This personally means a lot to me as an individual. We are here, though, this morning to honor and dedicate this overlook to Dr. Betsy Gladfelter. From here on in, referred to as Betsy, as many previous people have mentioned. I always wondered who this Dr. Gladfelter was. I was a member of the Selectmen's Working Group that was charged with what are we going to do with the Coonamessett River? Are we going to stay the course, keep the cranberry farming, or are we going to restore the river? The town-wide acceptance of the committee that I served on is evident as you look out behind me. The decision was to restore the river to what Mother Nature had intended. And that was led by Betsy. Thank you. The actual restoration, as people have already mentioned, was led by Betsy. If you look at the board over here, you will see that she brought together over 40 individual groups and organizations and got them to work together to create this project, and is currently finishing the upper part of the Coonamessett River. And she didn't stop when she got done with this. Where she gets her energy, Betsy, you have to let me know, because I'm beginning to need something. But I want to mention to you today that this overlook, this was entirely Betsy's idea. No one ever thought of this. This was her idea. When we discussed it, and I ran around with the model she had created and took it around town, East Falmouth Library, different places, had no idea what the purpose of this was at first. I just couldn't understand it. But then when it got completed, and Betsy and I discussed this, she said, Joe, this is so that everyone, no matter their ability, physical ability, can access and see this environmental project. She had the foresight and the wisdom, which many of us lacked, to get this done. And that's why we're here today, Betsy, to dedicate and name this after you. I'd like to thank the Falmouth Board of Selectmen for okaying this project, and all of you today with this uncertain weather, the large number of people after yesterday's cancellation that came here today to honor Betsy. Such a tribute. Thank you.
Well, Betsy, this is a big project. And as a Republican, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? And Betsy has been not only on this project, as we've heard, but on so many projects. sometimes I come to river restoration and I bring Aldo Leopold's book and talk about the land ethic. And last time I brought Rachel Carlson's book and I talked about Into the Sea, Wind, and the River. And today, last night, I got a call from the governor's office that the governor is appointing the poet laureate of the Commonwealth today up in Salem. And it was a bill that I had in the legislature, but she enacted it by executive order and wanted me to be there. I said, I can't be there. I've got to be at the dedication of the Dr. Gladfelter Overlook. And so in that spirit, because we all know and we've heard all the stories, I want to dedicate a poem from the most famous Portuguese poet, Fernando Pessoa. The poem is actually called Beyond the Bend in the Road, but I'm going to use a little poetic license here, and we're going to go beyond the bend in the river. And as I read the poem, it's not just about taking those small steps and continuing to move forward, as you are now in the upper Coonamessett River, but I think it has a place in our public life in the issues that we're dealing with, like when I get a call from Dr. Gladfelter of, can they still go to work today because there's been a federal grant shut down, right? So here's Beyond the Bend in the River. Beyond the bend in the river, there may be, well, a pump house. There may be simply more river. I neither know nor ask. As long as I'm on the river before the bend, I simply look at the river before the bend. Since I can only see the river before the bend, it would do no good to look elsewhere or at what I can't see. Let's just concentrate on where we are. There's beauty enough in being here, not elsewhere. If anyone's there beyond the bend in the river, let them worry about what's beyond the bend in the river. That is the river to them. If we arrive there, when we arrive, we'll know. Now we only know that we're not there. Here, there's only the river before the bend. And before the bend, there's the river with no bend at all. Betsy, congratulations, and thanks for going beyond the bend in the river.
I'd like to welcome up from the Mashpee Wampanoag tribe, Representative David Whedon. Please welcome up Community Preservation Committee Chairperson, Sandy Cuny.
We call it CPC for short. So Betsy, it's been an honor really to work with you. In 2017, 2018, and 2019, applications came before the Community Preservation Committee, written by Betsy. The CPC unanimously supported it. The articles went to town meeting. Town meeting unanimously supported this project. Over $1 million of CPA money went towards this project. So Betsy, you did an amazing job. Thank you. And then Betsy became a member of the CPC as the appointed Conservation Commission designated rep. It has been such an honor to work with you. You're amazing. This project is amazing. I can't thank you enough, and you deserve this honor more than anyone. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Joanne Muramoto, the president of the 300 Committee Land Trust. And I want to say that the 300 Committee Land Trust is incredibly thrilled and honored to partner with the town, the Coonamessett River Trust, and other partners in naming the Coonamessett Greenway Overlook after Betsy Gladfelter. I'm going to personally call it Betsy's Overlook from now on. Betsy's vision and perseverance in restoring the river has resulted in one of the outstanding restoration projects in the Northeast. I'm very confident in saying that because I'm familiar with some of the other restoration projects, all of which are coming along, but this is an exemplary example of a restoration project. It's a boon to the health of the river and a long-lasting gift to the citizens of Falmouth. The 300 Committee has been proud to be a partner in supporting restoration and the creation of the Greenway. Since our inception in 1985, we have committed to preserving open space along the Coonamessett River, beginning with the preservation of the Coonamessett Reservation at the headwaters in 1986. And I'll mention here that we're celebrating our 40th anniversary year this year, and we're going to be having a number of events to celebrate that milestone. Since then, many more acres of open space have been preserved along the river and in the watershed, thanks to support from the town, the CPC, all of you out there, I'm sure, and many others. We firmly believe, and we know you do too, that open space protection and river restoration complement each other and together are essential for a healthy watershed. Our collective investment, meaning your investment, the 300 Committee's investment, the town's investment in open space protection, will help to protect this restored river into the future. Betsy has played a critically important role in not only restoration, but also preserving open space. Betsy, we celebrate you for leading by example, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
I'm Robert Golder, representing the Coonamessett River Trust. We often say of someone who works hard that she is a force of nature, but Betsy is more than that. She is a force of nature for both the natural communities of the Coonamessett River watershed and also for the best of our human nature, our human community, the residents of the town of Falmouth, and our families, our friends and visitors. Yes, Betsy is a force, and we celebrate her today. Her great talent is her ability to talk to anyone and get things done. You can see the evidence in front of you on that sign that shows all of the logos of the partnership organizations, the government agencies, the volunteers, town employees, nonprofits. Betsy brought them all together and kept the momentum going. And that is no small feat. But of course, as some of you know, it does help that Betsy has a secret weapon. She brings the apple cider donuts to every meeting. The Coonamessett River Trust will be forever grateful for Betsy's incredible leadership in restoring the river. The Trust started advocating nearly 25 years ago for the river's restoration. We made some progress, but it wasn't until Betsy stepped in that everything really took off. Like the many ducks that now call the Coonamessett home, she took to the task like a duck to water, writing funding proposals, managing grants, working with contractors, and she did all of this work as a volunteer. It is so fitting and so appropriate that this overlook has been named in Betsy's honor. Up here on the platform, you can look out over the river. You can see it winding below. You can fully appreciate the time, energy, and care it took to make this a peaceful and a beautiful place. Betsy has watched over the Coonamessett River for many years, and now we also get to watch from the overlook, named for her, watching the continued restoration of the river in which Betsy has invested so many years of love and care. Thank you, Betsy.
Good morning. I'm Beth Lambert. I'm the director of the Massachusetts Division of Ecological Restoration. which is a state agency, part of the Department of Fish and Game. Our mission is to restore and protect rivers, wetlands, and watersheds for the benefit of people and the environment. And we work with partners across the state to support, lead, and advocate for river and wetland restoration projects like this one. Our agency is one of the partners in the Coonamessett River Restoration Project. And so I'm speaking to you as someone who works across the state with many different communities, many volunteers, many organizations on projects like this. The Coonamessett River Restoration Project became part of DER's restoration portfolio in the early 2000s. And around 2010 or so, I began working with Betsy and the partners here in Falmouth in the early planning stages for the project. Now, in theory, our program offers assistance to communities and partners around the state. But what I quickly realized working with Betsy was that while theoretically we were offering assistance, the reality was that my organization, and the rivers and wetlands were in fact learning from and benefiting from everything that Betsy brought to the river restoration process. Personally, I was amazed just to learn new things about Betsy as I began working with her. She had just gotten back from a marathon and was training from another. She was a PhD in biology and ecology, and she got that PhD during a time when it was unusual for women to pursue that path. In addition, she was in the middle of writing a book about the benefits and the value of field experiences, not only to young scientists, but to all scientists, and really to all people. And so all of those skills and experiences, combined with having been a dean at a university, were behind her as she took on restoration of the Coonamessett River. So Betsy combined inspiration and ecology with business management, organizational skills, and political savvy to restore the river. I don't know if you know this, but this is actually one of the first projects in the state to restore former cranberry farmland to native and natural wetlands and riverine habitat. So it's not like hundreds of people had been doing this before Betsy got involved. This is one of the first. And there was great uncertainty around the path forward, how you do this work at all, where the funding comes from, how it's permitted, 100 million things. And so managing a river restoration project and wetland restoration project like this, there's a variety of ways to describe it. Sometimes it feels like being a circus ringleader. Sometimes we use the phrase herding ducks. But I think one way to think of it is that it's much like conducting an orchestra. The project director must keep track of and harmoniously cue many different project elements so that each takes place at exactly the right time. Scientific research, engineering and design, fundraising, budget management, permitting, outreach and engagement, construction. The restoration project director is responsible for making sure that all these happen according to plan, according to the score that the author of the piece has tried to write out, and within budget. And when it becomes necessary to depart from the score and improvise a few bars of music here and there, the project director needs to make sure that those improvisations lead you back to the direction that you want to go. Not only did Betsy do all this, she also built support for the project, served as its spokesperson, and brought together so many organizations to support and participate in the project. Throughout that, she brought positive energy, optimism, leadership, and direction. And as everyone has said, she did not take nonsense from anyone. So thank you, Betsy, for supporting me as I was theoretically supporting this project and helping me learn and being my role model in restoration. Thank you.
Please welcome up a retired employee from NOAA, Jim Turk.
Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks for inviting me. And So it's a great day today. Glad to be here with Betsy and everybody else here. So I worked for the Restoration Center for about 28 years, and I think I don't know the exact number, but I think I worked on close to 400 restoration projects throughout at least southern New England, parts of northern New England, and the Great Lakes area. And this project I started working on, like Beth, around 2010. So more than half my career was involved working with Betsy and others on this project. And so it's a great honor just to be part of the project over that time. And so the way I was thinking about this on the way down this morning, I wanted to talk about connections, connectedness, and then lastly, continuity that all relate to this project. And so the connections, first of all, is what Betsy did to put together, to build a team. I mean, with close to 40 people, 40 organizations with various people on those organizations, whether it was NGOs or the state agencies and the multiple federal agencies. It all came together, and it came together because Betsy was a great project manager and a great orchestrator. And I think it's definitely one of the highlights of the many projects that I worked on, to get to see a team like that really be successful in all this project that we see today. And then with the connectedness, like Beth said, this was the template of a project that was connecting the river with the wetland system itself. And so, you know, I worked on over 120 fish passage projects, and a lot of them were just basically take a dam, or worked on a lot of dam removals, some of which never came out. But at any rate, a lot of the fish projects were focused on removing a barrier so fish could get by, because that was what our agency's trust resources was a focus of. And so those were great projects, but this was an extraordinary project in that not only did we remove the physical barriers, the dams that were on the system, the crappy culverts that were at John Parker, and the 7 that were in the process of wrapping up now. And so you had those components, but then we also had the 56 acres down here of wetlands, and then the new wetlands that we're restoring up above in the last phase. And so when you put that all together, it's really the connectedness of the river with the wetland system that really drives the sustainability of the resources. And the last one being the continuity is the river itself, relating back to the estuary down below, then connecting to the Atlantic Ocean, and reconnecting the fish, the river herring, and American eel that our agency has a very important focus on to help support, recreational commercial fisheries and other ecosystem services. And so when you put that all together, it became an amazing project that greatly respected by our agency, and it was really a good honor, Betsy, to work with you on that. So all I would say is I think I'm glad everybody is here today, and it's a great place to enjoy. The public has a great opportunity here, and we've all learned a great lesson working with Betsy on it. Thank you.
At this time, we'd like to welcome up Joe Netto, Jessica Rittenauer, and Allison Lestian, along with Betsy, for the unveiling of the Dr. Betsy Gladfelter Overlook sign panel.
You see, this is what the project was all about. all of these people in the pictures.
There's been a couple of quick more additions to this. We're not gonna leave this party just yet. Please welcome Jack Richardson for a proclamation.
Yeah, I'll keep it incredibly brief because I see the apple cider donuts everyone's been talking about. Jack Richardson, I'm your new member on the Falmouth Select Board, but I'm here today on behalf of Senator Fernandez. He had to be up in Boston today, but I know for sure that Betsy was on top of him, as well as our other state and federal partners, to make sure all the money that is required to do projects like this was done. There's nothing else I can say that hasn't already been said, but this really is an example of exactly what a good project looks like. When we think of climate change and the environment, we think of our shorelines and of fires. We don't think of things like this and the effort it takes to get funding and focus on this. And you can see here today what an incredible job you've done. So on behalf of the Massachusetts Senate, be it known that the Massachusetts Senate hereby extends its congratulations to Dr. Elizabeth Betsy Gladfelter in recognition of the town of Falmouth's dedication ceremony at the Dr. Elizabeth Gladfelter Overlook, and be it further known that the Massachusetts Senate extends its best wishes for continued success on behalf of Senator Dylan A. Fernandez.
Also, folks, please, I'd like to make an acknowledgement for Doug Brown is here today for our select board. Such a great day to have everybody here. Well, the town officials, state officials, it's a wonderful day to be here to celebrate Betsy and the grand dedication to this overlook. And for Public Works, because of all the work that Betsy has done with Public Works, I was beginning to think she was an employee with the department. We were getting her a card, a badge. She'd be in the office more than I was many times. But Betsy, from Public Works, for your hard work, your dedication, your willingness to work with everyone, and your tenacity to make sure things get done, would like to say thank you. Get you ready for the beach season this summer. And now, I'd like to welcome up Betsy herself to make some couple of comments.
Thanks very much. It's has been an honor to work with all of you all these years. You're who made this project. And as I said in the select board meeting, when it's a lengthy process before somebody gets named for something. But I said that after Hurricane Hugo, my husband died in 2003. Hugo was in '89. After Hurricane Hugo, I was director of the Marine Lab at the time. He was a professor there. And he said, for somebody who can't do anything yourself, you can bring out the best of other people. And fortunately, so many of you stepped up to make this project work. I'm just going to finish with my favorite book is The Little Prince. Those of you who travel with me know that I try to get a copy in every new language. So I have this pocket. I have a quotation I want to read. This is my favorite quotation. And then some of the things to learn from the book. If you haven't read it, you might think it's a child's book, and it is a child's book. But as he points out, we were all children once. So my favorite quote is, "It's only with the heart that one can see rightly. What's essential is invisible to the eyes." And then I wanted to look up that quote to have it, but then I saw I saw an article that What are the 7 things you learned from The Little Prince? 1, don't be too fond of numbers. 2nd, look after the planet. The 3rd, don't judge others by their words, but by what they do. Relationships make life worth living. The important things in your life you can't see with your eyes, only with your heart. It's the time you give to something that makes it precious. And finally, remember to look up at the stars. Now, in past gatherings like this, I've said thanks to all the different groups, the funders, the contractors, the state and local elected officials. And I also mentioned the town of Falmouth does a lot. But what I want to close with is how fortunate we all are to have competent local, state, and federal government officials. They make stuff done. To do this project, and I want to especially call out the town of Falmouth employees. Many of you are here. Some of you have visited before, some of you didn't, even though you got an invitation for a hike. But you're the ones who make these projects in town work. Nobody can realize, none of you can realize all the details that actually go in. And I suppose what several of you have said, that I am persistent, I will come back. But my goal here was to have, well, obviously to improve the environment, and then to have access for all ages and all abilities. And thanks to all of your help, we've been able to do this here in the town. So that's it. I guess it's time for donuts.
So folks, this has come to the end of our ceremony. I want to thank you all for coming today to make this very special occasion. Please, you do not have to leave at this time. There's some foods. There's a table up here with some special donuts that Betsy's favorite for the apple cider donuts. There's some drinks. And I do understand that some of you folks are going to be taking a walk around the bogs. So I'm going to be playing you a little traveling music. Please enjoy the rest of your day and have a great weekend. Thank you for coming.
All right.
I'm so sorry.